Hello, everyone that's watching. This is that I want to let's say a little hangout, even if no one is watching it. Anyway, now this movie hasn't been released yet properly. So again, as the title suggests, and as I've said in the description and stuff, there are spoilers in this. So if you have not screening the guide or you're going to event screening this week, if you're a long weekend, uh, um, first ones, I was one of the first people in Australia with the world, because I'm pretty sure it was world premiere. No, like, Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Um, but yeah, aside from that, it's probably the first advanced screening sort of thing I've gone to, and I was going into it for How to Train Your Dragon 2 Boogaloo. I was going to refrain from doing it. The is I seem to have to. I have an impulse to do that with all sequels now. But yeah. Yeah, like I went in thinking I saw the trailers because I've been going to the movies regularly now, and I saw the trailers and I was like, you know what, this could be worth seeing. I mean, I did like the first one. I haven't seen the cartoon show though, um, but I've seen bits and pieces, but I don't know. I might watch it after seeing this. I might see if they actually tie in or if it's just its own thing. But yeah, Drain Your Dragon. I think that's the porn parody. um, yeah, How to Train Your Dragon 2. I'm sorry. um, yeah, so this is like 5 years later from what I can tell, and it's really sad that I have to go by memory because this hasn't been released yet, so there's no plot synopsis. Ah! But yeah, this movie is actually really good. Like, honestly, better than I expected. I mean, I enjoyed the first one, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed this, like, the sequel. Like, I forget if it had a tagline or not. I think it was just, like, two. But this is pretty interesting. Like, it starts out pretty slow. And really, by the trailers, trailers are never a good, never really a good idea to go by the trailer in some cases. In some cases, it makes it seem worse or better. Blah. Trying not to ramble. Um, but yeah, like starts out fairly simple enough. Basically, they do the same thing. They start it similar to how they started the first one, where it's basically just a narration and then going into, in this case, showing how they actually all live with dragons now, and dragons are part of their society, and all of that stuff, and they're playing. You know what? I'm just going to say this is Quidditch with dragons, which is pretty interesting. And like it's interesting though that some of the characters do look older, but not really. I mean, there's supposed to be a 5 year gap, which makes sense because there was quite a gap between the movies because, animation. But yeah, some of them really don't look much older. Taller maybe, but that's about it. Except for the main character, Hiccup. Hiccup definitely looks older. Like probably one of the only characters that was younger in the previous one that actually that actually looks older. Like even you look at the posters and it's like, wow, yeah, this dude's aged. um, but yeah, basically they're going around. They find like I'll just get the plot synopsis out of the way now. They he's just they're playing Quidditch with dragons, sort of. It's like a race. Think of like Quidditch if it was a race, and you had to like catch sheep and drop them in nets. Nothing like Quidditch, but you know, for some reason Quidditch was the first thing that came to mind when I tried to just make a comparison. Um, and of course Hiccup's not there because he's off fart-assing around with Toothless. And he's drawing a map because they're going around finding new places, and they come across the new area. And after a bit, which it was actually kind of funny, where oh god, you know what? For the life of me, I cannot remember the character's name, but it's the love interest. Astrid, that's it. Um, her name actually, I don't think it came up much, so maybe that's why I forgot. But oh well. Yeah, she sort of makes fun of his mannerisms, and at the same time, it's like it's one of those things that you see in comedy where someone will have goofy traits, and either in the first movie or in this case with sequels, they'll make fun of that character's traits by, you know, basically flat out stating, dude, seriously, what's up with you and these traits you have? But, you know, they don't go too far with it or anything that makes it really just dumb. Uh, and then they find these dragon hunters in this giant, God knows what. You later find out that it's an ice. It's actually made of ice, but it looks like crystals. Um, sort of fortress thing that seems to have wrecked all these ships, or like a fortress that was there, or something like that, made of wood. Um, and they have dragon hunters. So first, in the first movie, we're on the side of the people that are all, let's kill these fucking dragons. They're trying to kill us, or they're killing our livestock. And then you get this movie where, we have to we have to stop these guys, kind of. They almost get caught, but they get away. And we get introduced to, for the life of me, I really suck with Eret. That's it, Eret. A new character who starts off as a bad guy, but as we learn later, he's one of those starts off as a douchebag but then becomes likable characters. Sort of does a "I'll get you, you meddling kids" sort of thing. They get away. They get back. They tell them about. You know what? My memories are really shit. I'm going to have to look this up again. Bloodfist or something. Oh, Drago Bloodfist or Bloodvist, because I guess they're the Vikings. Of course, would be Bloodvist instead of Bloodfist or whatever. Or Bloodfist. Yeah, I forget exactly how they say it, but it's Drago Bloodfist or something like that. It sounds like they're saying fist. It might just be something the voice actors are doing, but yeah, Drago Bloodfist. They name drop him, or at least they try to, and then Hiccup's dad's all like, "Oh shit," and shit gets real, and they have to. Basically, they just like sort of try to keep all the dragons locked up for a while, but of course, Hiccup and his girlfriend piss off to try and find him, Uh, well, actually, no, sorry. That might have been. Oh wait, yeah. They find um Eret again. uh, they willingly get captured. Hiccup basically lets them willingly get captured because he wants to try and convince them that dragons aren't all heartless and evil, and they're actually you know probably less homicidal than humans are, at least in this world. Um, and he wants to be taken to see Drago, but shit happens. Hiccup's dad shows up with a bunch of the other kids, and they basically get them to fuck off. um, or at least they try to, but Hiccup's like, nope, I need to find Drago, and pisses off on Toothless. Bada bing, bada boom. He tries to, like, at some point while he's trying to, he gets caught up by these dragons, um, taken to this place by this woman who, well, we don't know it's a woman yet, but it's a person dressed in this sort of, I don't even know what culture I'd say it seems like it's inspired by, but this sort of chieftain-looking thing. But I'm not talking like Native American chieftain. I mean like sort of, you know what? I don't even know. If you've seen the trailers, you know what I mean. And after a few minutes, I think it takes, it is revealed to be Hiccup's mum, which I would have loved this reveal more if this was not spoiled in the trailers. Because, and you could say, and like, people that are going to say, oh, well, why didn't you just not watch trailers? I couldn't help it. If you go to the movies and you go to see a kids movie or like generally a G or PG movie, you would have seen trailers for this recently. Luckily, of course, they didn't have a trailer for it in this because even though it's an advanced screening, um, and like yeah, it would have carried much more emotional weight. It still carried some emotional weight, but it would have carried a lot more emotional weight and been a nice twist slash surprise if this had been left purely as a surprise that we didn't know. Like, even if they just shown his mum in that getup and not revealed the whole. Which, it's interesting that the mum was voiced by Cate Blanchett. I did not know that going in. I didn't look up anything about the movie. All I saw were the trailers. So that was interesting because it didn't sound like her. She was actually putting on a voice. I mean, thinking back on it, okay. When I saw her name in the credits, I was like, really? But thinking on it, okay, yeah, a sort of toned down Scottish Galadriel is kind of what it sounds like. The voice she uses. But yeah, it's really, yeah, it really would have been better if they just left that as a surprise, as far as I'm concerned, because even if they'd left in the "it can't be" thing, but not had the reveal of what, because it just doesn't carry as much weight. Um, Sorry if I'm just going in circles, but yeah. It turns out that his mum has been saving dragons um, from either Drago or somebody, or generally other people. And I honestly didn't remember this from the first movie, but I guess yeah, the reason Hiccup's dad, hated dragons so much was because that he thought that his wife was killed by dragons. And it's a very nice way of redoing, like sort of doing a flashback that way, where there wasn't really much narration to it that I can remember. Um, and you could see how it could be taken obviously the wrong way. But yeah, she essentially gets carried off by a dragon, but so it looks like she's going to be eaten or killed. Um, but of course she wasn't. um, sorry. Uh, but yeah, it turns out thing, and you see this fucking massive dragon at one point. It's like supposed to be the alpha dragon, which almost for a second there surprised me until I realized, oh wait, yeah, there was something like this in the first movie. That fucking massive blue dragon that I think it spurted, like I think it spat blue flames. Was it? I'm sorry, I forget. But um, yeah, like it, yeah, the big bird from the first movie, technically. Um, so that was already set up, but this was a different design, and oh my god, that thing looks fucking amazing. Like, I'm really glad that they did not spoil that in the in the trailers. Um, there's probably images of it somewhere. People that like me that have seen advanced screenings that can actually draw will probably draw it. Though if I was them, I'd honestly wait until the thing comes out proper and then do it. But my god, like that's like this thing is really. I'm not sure if I'd call it Godzilla huge. I don't think it's that huge, but it's still pretty fucking huge to the point that I think you probably the size of it would only really be done justice if you do see this in the movies, in the cinemas. I mean, and oh god, that thing, like, and some of the new dragon designs, like these dragons are fucking amazing. Like, generally, the design of these things, god. But anyway, moving on. Still going with plot. um, oh god. Hiccup tries to get his mum also to like sort of, hey, now we can go together and see Drago, and his mum's like, yeah, right. It's like, yeah, there's no talking. Like, so it's a case of, oh yeah, I see what you want to do, but even the mum's like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Like the dad said it earlier that yeah, there's no way you cannot convince this guy otherwise, and the mum is basically saying the same thing, but uh, without blatantly saying so. Um, which is honestly I found really funny. It's like the mum and dad both think the same thing without knowing what the other one thought. Um, and it is interesting that in this case, yeah, that Hiccup does take after his mum in this respect. He went the path of his mum instead of the path of his dad as a warrior. And oh, that flaming sword! I forgot to bring that up. He basically has a fire lightsaber. Hiccup has a fire lightsaber. I mean, I guess it's like the length of the sword itself, the blade, is actually probably like a short sword, not like a. So, but yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. Because it even comes out, it's not like there's a blade out and it just he does something that sets it on fire. I never questioned that. And, like, I think I might have at first, but I was like, it's fantasy. Just let it go. Um, yeah, but let's see what happened after that. Ah, while Hiccup's still there, his dad and the one, yeah, I'm really shit with character names, but the character that yeah, I can't for the life of me. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. Uh, the guy that like is missing a hand and a leg, um, and Hiccup's dad show up where Hiccup and his mum are to take him back. And after having thought previously that he might have been dead, sort of, because they find his helmet, which had fallen off when one of the dragons grabbed him. Uh, and it's established in that apparently baby dragons can't be controlled by an alpha dragon. So there's that, and the alpha dragon that this is supposed to be the king of all dragons, like period. Um, but yeah, they they're trying to, I guess, find a way out, but they don't know. Um, and they come across um, the guy missing his hand and leg, foot, comes like goes past and comes back, and he's just dumbstruck. He goes, "I think you'll have to handle this one." And the dad walks through, and it's the mum there, pretty much from what I can remember, wearing the get up except the helmet thing or the head bit. And I love this moment. I fucking love this moment, this reunion between the two, because you think that, and they even sort of get like the mum is fucking petrified because she thinks that he is going to be so pissed that she's been alive this whole time, but you know, has been for 20 years she's been gone from Burke, living with dragons and rescuing dragons and all that, and she's fucking scared out of her wits because she thinks that this, this big hulking man is going to, domestic violence the fuck out of her. Thankfully he doesn't, because PG movie. But yeah, he's just like touches her face and it's just like, "You're just as beautiful as the day I thought I lost you," or like something like that, and it's like, oh, it feels like holy shit, that hit me. I didn't cry or anything. I didn't cry at any point in this movie, but there were a few times like this where I came pretty close, or like it was just like, uh, like, oh god, it was really well done, and generally they spend some time like letting these characters that had not like until now we didn't really know that the mum existed really. I mean, like, she obviously had to exist, otherwise Hiccup wouldn't. But this is a previously unestablished character and an established character actually, like, the couple getting to be a couple. Like, they don't hurry back to Burke. He's like, holy shit, it's my wife, and he, like, they just let it play out, and like there is like a bit of a skip, but and God, what's her name again? I'm sorry, I'm really shit with names. Astrid and the other kids, or I guess teenagers now, or young adults. Um, they at some point during the sequence they decide, well, they've been gone way too fucking long, so we better go off and find them. And cut back to the Hiccup and his family, and they just like the husband starts singing a song with the wife, and blah blah blah. And they do the whole. I'm so glad the way this played out is they do. Like, they explain. They haven't obviously explained at this point that dragons are now part of the community of Burke. So, and they try to. At least the husband does. Tries to the husband slash dad tries to get like basically asks his wife if she'll come back and live in Burke now, and she says yes. No real hesitation. She's not like, oh, I don't know if I should. She's pretty much just says yes. She's got a smile on her face like the whole fucking time, and then just says yes. And it's like, oh, thank you. Usually we get the whole, oh no, I can't. It's been too long. I don't know, and it's just like, I hate when that happens. So the fact that this is just a case of yes, uh, It's like, oh, thank God. But at the same time, as when this was happening, it's like, oh, we'll be a family again. I'm like, oh, please don't let one of them die. Because doesn't that always happen in movies? Like, they'll be, ah, yes, now we can be a happy family, or, ah, now I can retire, blah, 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 blah. And then the character dies, or a character dies. It's like, and as they're all sort of happy and blah, eventually, uh, they start being attacked by Drago and his dragons and blah blah. And generally start trying to hunt them, so they start to fight back. And this was actually, sorry, I missed an entire plot thread. I'm sorry, like my mind's kind of jumping around the place because this is like I haven't got a plot synopsis to work with, and I only saw the movie today, and it was an advanced screening, so forgive me if I'm a bit iffy with plot stuff. So, uh, Astrid and company essentially get captured by Eric because, well, they do and don't, because they force him to take them to Drago. And, essentially they do, but then it all kind of goes to shit, and they get captured, and Eric tries to offer them up to Drago, and for whatever reason, even though, like, one actually, Eric's about to get killed, but one of the dragons actually jumps in the way and sort of helps him. And suddenly, Eric's just like, wow, maybe dragons aren't as bad as I once thought. Or, like, generally, I don't think he really cared. It was sort of a Han Solo thing where he's just, he's doing a job. Well, I guess not so much a Han Solo thing, but, it's just a case of, he was doing a job. He wasn't necessarily an evil character. It's just that he was a guy doing a job. Um, but a dragon saved his life, so they get captured anyway, and they almost get told to walk the plank, basically, because with their hands bound and that though. But Eric manages to save them out of sort of him. He was almost killed by Drago for some reason. I honestly can't remember. I'm sorry. Maybe it was because he showed up late, or because there was only a few, and then it turns out, you know, all of Berk has dragons, so Drago's pissed about that, and apparently he's insane anyway, so that's that. And it's actually said that, it's revealed that he's wearing dragon scales, or dragon skin, as they say, um, as a cloak. So he can actually throw it over himself and prevent himself by being harmed by dragon fire. So think of it as like a fireproof batsuit, but like dragon grade, um, which was really interesting. Uh, but yeah, he uses, obviously, Drago uses dragons as well. Um, and they manage to get into where their dragons are, and then when they show up to attack this ice fortress that was created, interestingly enough, by the alpha dragon. Apparently, those specific species of dragon shoot out crystallized-looking ice instead of fire, which I thought was really interesting. They beat me to it, the bastards. Well, not the exact idea, but I've always thought that, like, I really appreciate it because I've always thought the idea of, or like, okay, maybe not always, that's lying, but I have thought in the past that, you know, uh, dragons spewing out ice instead of fire would actually be pretty interesting. So, you know, gotta hand it to DreamWorks for that. Uh, So yeah, they're now that I've connected the two plot threads back together. Like when they start getting attacked, they unleash them, and then Astrid and her crew come out, and obviously Drago's pissed. Um, Drago almost kills the mum, but then the dad jumps in and starts fighting with him and stuff, and blah blah blah. But then he has to go up and save his wife. And after a while, in amongst all the confusion, um, he summons. Hiccup tries to talk Drago out of all this bullshit, and pretty much in response, Drago basically just summons the alpha dragon that he has under his control, and it fight and like well, actually no, sorry, he does that because, or in response to the actual the king of the dragons showing up, like actually coming out of its ice fortress to fight their dragons and generally get rid of these people that are in Draco's army. And he and the two things clash, and it's actually kind of interesting. Like they go a bit slow, of course, because it's a movie. Giant things are going to move extremely slow, at least in this sort of scenario. Well, actually, no, I don't think they're extreme. Like they're not sort of slow, but uh, yeah, like not slow, but I guess not as fast as the other dragons. I guess. Um, Interesting, and they actually, the one under Dragon control actually kills the other alpha dragon. So all the dragons that were there immediately swarm to Drago's alpha dragon, and that's actually kind of interesting. Um, it's generally supposed to be like, sort of oh, we'll follow you now because you're the leader sort of thing. So like a general animal thing, like it's believable. It's like a general animal thing, though they seem to do it more along the lines of, in the case of dragons, as a hypnosis sort of thing almost. Like, oh, that one died, so now we've got to listen to this one. Uh, it's explained in the movies in a way that makes sense, so don't worry. And it takes a bit, but Drago's Alpha manages to actually hypnotize or generally bring Toothless under its power. And at this point, this means Toothless is gonna, and this is like after this Alpha has been trying to kill the mum and Hiccup's mum and dad. So he turns Toothless on Hiccup, and it's like, oh shit! Like in a way, you almost, in retrospect, you think you'd expect that when you realize that whole aspect, but it's like, you know what? This actually works. It's a bit late in the movie to do it when you think about it. Like, there's always kind of a thing that happens late in the movie, but it's always like, it's like, oh shit, actual drama. He might actually be killed. I mean, no, he won't. You know he won't. But and then the mum and dad are running down, trying to get to Hiccup. The dad pushes him out of the way as Toothless, sorry, shoots his sort of purple flame out, and dust settles. The dad is dead. And I don't mean, come closer, son, I have one last thing to tell you before I die, sort of dead. I mean dead. Dead as a doornail. This guy is not coming back. And I do mean that, because they actually do the ye old sort of, I guess it would be a Viking funeral. I'm not sure exactly if it's necessarily just that, because, like, they even do it in fucking Game of Thrones. Where, they're put on a boat, the boat's set out to sea, flaming arrow, lights the boat on fire, and, da da da. And it's a really somber, and generally the whole moment is very somber, and he actually tells, Hiccup basically just tells uh, Toothless after it regains its senses and has no idea what the hell it's done. It has no idea that it's killed the dad. But they are like, Hiccup's basically just like, fuck off. Like, obviously not. I was going to say that exactly. That'd be interesting though. But, PG. Uh, basically tells him to get lost, and the mum's like, it's not his fault. You know that. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. But I do like that he's initially angry. He gets over it. But, of course, because, he's very close to this dragon. But, his fucking dad just died. Of course he's going to be pissed. So it made sense. It wasn't one of those forced sort of things where it's like, oh, go away. And it wasn't even a sad thing. It was just actually angry. And, it's a really well done moment, honestly. Like, and Drago's just like, I didn't kill the kid, but I killed his dad. Who cares? And since they've got all the dragons under control, they basically just leave. Which is kind of interesting, because it's like, wow. They're heading to Burke, and they've got all the dragons. It's like, fuck me, this is actually going to be an interesting climax. But yeah, like the little funeral thing they do is like, oh my god. Generally, the dad's death and that just, again, I didn't cry, but right in the feels. Like, god damn, that was some good emotional shit, basically. Like, holy crap, that hits you. If you're a person that is affected by that sort of stuff, it'll probably affect you anyway. But with me, it hit me a bit harder because family stuff in movies hits me pretty fucking hard. More so these days than when I was younger, but yeah, that sort of shit gets me. And Hiccup, really, honestly, in this becomes a man. He goes from being a boy to being a man in this sort of thing where he realizes, okay, this thing I've tried to be dodging by taking the chief position, like literally, he wanted his dad had been going, I want you to be the chief now, or like, I want you to be in charge, because of, it's a legitimate thing. It's not, oh, you're my son. It's because it seems like it doesn't even go by birthright. It seems like he could have easily have passed it on to someone else. But he feels like Hiccup had earned it, so he wanted him to be in charge and take over. And if he retired, or because I think it was a case of he wanted to retire from the position and hand it over to Hiccup before he died. But of course, he only had 2 weeks to retirement. And he dies, so, which in a way, I'll get to that later. Anyway, they get back to Burke on baby dragons, because even though the baby dragons in this case are still big enough to carry their weight. They make a few joke things of it, of course, like, this is a bad idea sort of dialogue, but they get back. But what I love is that they don't get back first. I mean, they wouldn't have anyway, but excuse me. But they do get back last. They get back after the village has already been attacked. Like, well, after the attack has already started. So it's actually quite interesting, because most kids' movies would not do that. Most kids' movies would pussy out from doing that. Most kids' movies would have them get some fucking bullshit way of getting there first. Or they'd get there first in the sort of Harry Potter sense of the villains already know where they are, and they're probably technically there first, but they don't do anything. And by the time they finally do something, the good guys have shown up. In this case, they've already started icing the fuck out of that place and like burning the fuck out of it in some cases. But yeah, that fucking alpha dragon is just going to town on Burke, and it's like, holy shit! Like you actually see them come back around, and they're like, oh fuck, they're already here. Like it's really really cool. Like, I really love that they actually did that because it helps. It really really helps give the climax much more tension because it's like they're already being attacked when they show up. So there is already people dead. You've got to figure that there's already people from this place that are dead. So, or at least that's that's just me. I'm guessing it's that way. It's probably with kid movie logic, they probably went, nah, they're alive. But hell, they just killed off the dad, so there's that. Um, oh my god, like, and in the end, like they almost make it look like Hiccup is dead. At one point, like they've tried, sorta, kinda, like they try to distract him, the alpha dragon, whilst Hiccup can confront Drago, and it doesn't really work out too well. But they have another chat, and the alpha dragon attacks him, Hiccup, and Toothless, and they seem to get encased in that ice stuff, and they technically do, but pretty much Toothless goes Godzilla in a way, and I'm talking like this new 2014 Godzilla, kind of, and friggin' just blows the fucking ice away. Like, you see like this faint blue glow, and then it gets brighter and brighter, and then the fucking ice just breaks, shatters everywhere, and fucking, and it's pretty much like Toothless being like, okay, I've had a fucking enough of this shit, okay, and like I ain't taking this shit lying down anymore. And they basically explain it through dialogue as Toothless has decided to challenge this alpha dragon to be the new alpha dragon, I guess. And it pretty much ends up with all the as Toothless is attacking the thing, and because it's so big and slow, and he's so small but quick, he just fucking fires off rounds of fire blasts at him and just keeps fucking going to the point that this huge dragon just can't get a shot in because it takes so long for it to even try. Like every time it tries to, it gets shot again. So it's like, ugh. And eventually all the brainwashed dragons go over to Toothless' side. And normally I would criticize a movie for doing this. I would be like, okay, really? Really? Now the good guy is going to be the alpha dragon. Or like the good guy's dragon is going to be the alpha dragon. Like, ugh. Such a Gary Stu, I guess, in this case, thing to do. But it works. In this case, it does work. And, the dragon that he's got is supposed to be, like, one of the strongest kinds of... Well, I guess not so much one of the strongest dragons, but, like, it's got a reputation. It's got a sort of legend behind it. So, you can believe that could make sense. And hell, it's not even Toothless on his own that beats this bloody thing. It's it and all the other ones that come to his side start firing off at this giant thing and actually break one of its tusks off. They don't kill it, which I actually find very, very interesting. They don't kill it. The dragons injure it, I get. Yeah, like, they break your tusk off. So the alpha dragon admits defeat and goes away and drowns Drago, most likely. Because, like, multiple times Hiccup is like, seriously, dude, you don't have to do this. I don't want to kill you, or I don't want to, have events happen that lead to you dying, because, I'm not that kind of person. Which makes sense, A, because of his age, and B, because he's more of an intellectual. He's like, I want to think my way out of this, or, like, he's a peacekeeper. I want to talk you out of this. I don't want to go to war with you. But, and it costs Drago, basically, because the dragon retreats with Drago still on him and goes underwater. So, and, like, Drago isn't necessarily dead. They never flat out state that he's dead, but the way Hiccup looks at the ocean, like, down, he's looking down, he's like, well, I can't see him there, so, oh shit, I guess he's dead. But it's not a hooray, he's dead. It's a, oh fuck, I didn't want him to die. I just wanted him to stop his bullshit. And basically at this point he has decided, Hiccup already decided before, to take up his place as the chief, and he does. They put like some ash on his face and da 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 da, and then it has them, and the movie pretty much rounds up with them playing that game again that they started. So it comes full circle. It's them playing, rebuilding Burke, and at the same time playing that. And like the last shot is fucking Hiccup sitting where his dad had sat at the start of the movie, with Toothless there with him. And it's like, what, that's a pretty good shot to end on. Apparently there's already a sequel in the works. And if there is, like, that really wouldn't surprise me, because, that's kind of how animation works. They greenlit sequels way ahead of time so they can make it. I think it'd be basically a case of, if this movie doesn't do well, then that will get thrown out the window. But this was much better than the original, I think. Like, I did like the original, but this is definitely one of those sequels that I would actually consider better than the movie that came before it. Characters were good. The comedy was not terrible. Some bits are like, okay, it's typical kid movie stuff. But, some of it was actually at least got a smile out of me. If it didn't make me laugh, it got at least a smile. Nothing made me go, oh, fuck, really? So, and that is really that's all I want out of a movie that's not aimed at me. Like, not aimed at my age demographic. And really, it's a family movie, so they've got to, make it watchable for the parents, so they're not just sitting there the whole time going, oh, when the fuck's this thing gonna end? Because, they're the ones paying. You have to make them interested. And it's so you can get people like me in there, genuinely wanting to see it, despite not having any kids. I mean, I do have nieces and nephews, and, I would probably take them again if I saw. I would probably take them if I saw it again. Some of them, anyway. But yeah, like, and you know what? I actually probably would see this again. If there's anything you can take away from this, it's that I would willingly pay money to see this again. If not, if I don't see this in the cinemas again, which I'm trying to save up for stuff, so I probably won't. Depends. Then I will definitely be getting the DVD. Definitely. And now I'm probably going to have to go back and actually buy the DVD of the first one so I can watch it in case I do go see it again, or just so maybe some things that I probably didn't pick up on make sense. probably. Um, as far as the mum dad thing, uh, the thing, as I said earlier, um, I was so worried, and my worries were realized that as soon as they started doing that, oh, we're going to be a happy family, one of them dies, and I honestly thought it was going to be the mum. But the only reason it annoys me that they did this, killing off one of the parents, is because why the fuck do we have so many dead parents in movies, like kids movies? Like, I guess yes, it is going to affect kids. I'm pretty sure I heard some whimpering going on from some of the kids that were there when I saw it. Luckily, they were all pretty quiet, aside from like one or two moments, but no or any like yelling after the movie started. So thank God these were well-behaved kids that I had to friggin' sit in this movie theater with. Um, but yeah, like it's like maybe that's going to have an effect on kids. It still affected me, but it was like, oh, really, guys. At the same time, like it was well done, it was handled well, but at the same time, it was still like, yep, we're trading we're trading in the dad for the mum, which isn't a bad trade. But it's like, really, guys, we have to get rid of the dad. Really? Seems like you should have held that off until the third movie. um, but at the same time, it does help. It works with the tone of this movie. This movie it's still lighthearted. I'm not going to say it's not. But at the same time, there is a darker tone to it. Like, I'm not talking like, you know, dark for the sake of it being dark. I mean, when it's dark, it makes sense to the plot why it would be. Um, and like, it's it's so annoying because it was just like, oh yes, we'll finally have a happy family dynamic in one of these goddamn movies. And like generally animated movies where it's a young character centered around. I mean, that said, I have had story ideas where there are dead parents. But that was the character is like 20 or like generally my current age as I do this. Um, and that was more of that drove the plot rather than it being something like this where it aids the plot. Because it helps in that there's more at stake, but uh, it was so sad. Like I was just like, please no. Like it happens so much, and this like they just introduced the mom. Like, come on. Oh God. Like if it honestly, I would have been more pissed off if they'd killed the mom. Because it's like you introduce her in the movie and then kill her off. That would have been stupid. And plus, we don't really have as much of an emotional connection with the mum. So killing her off in her first appearance would have really been stupid. So it made sense to kill the dad off because we do have a connection to this character, whether you watch the first movie and the TV show, or if you just watched the first movie, like I did. Um, excuse me. But you know, other stuff. There was the running gag that was in the first one. I'm fairly sure, and was in this one, where the female fraternal twin. I have no idea what the hell her name is, and the cocky dude with black hair and the fat guy. I'm just, like, I'm sorry, I do not know their names. And I really don't want to have to look up again because that'll just, stall it. Um, the fat dude and the sort of muscly, sort of cocky, arrogant dude from the first one, um, both basically want to get with this female fraternal twin, and she falls for Eret after sort of love at first sight. Well, it's not really love so much as she just seems like she wants to bang him. So it's thank God they're supposed to be older, or that would be really creepy because he's like probably twice her age. Well, not twice her age, but he's like I don't know, 20s, 30s, probably. I'd say 30s at a guess. Eric is in his 30s. But yeah, this chick's like horning over him for the most part, and he basically, I don't think he necessarily like tells her to get fucked or anything, but I think there is like a point. I forget exactly, but I think there was a point where she just does go, oh, "Fine then," or something. And during one of the battles, she gets knocked off her dragon, and the two people that are vying for her catch her. And suddenly she sees them in an entirely new light, and it's actually quite funny. She's actually like, "Oh shit!" Suddenly I find these guys interesting. And when she'd previously been like, that fraternal female twin from uh, Avatar: The Legend of Korra season 2. For those of you who haven't seen that, that won't make any sense. But for those that have, that will. So I'll just leave that at that. Because basically the twins in this are kind of emo. Or, I wouldn't really say emo, but let's say goth without the dark clothing. They're still brightly coloured. Um, but yeah, she. And the funny thing is they even follow that up by after they're finished fighting the Drago and his alpha dragon on Burke, they actually have a bit where these two guys run past her. So it almost seems like they don't give a shit about her anymore. I don't know. Maybe they did, and I was just not paying attention in the final scene. But it seems that they don't give a shit anymore about her, and they go straight to their dragons and hug their dragons because they're like happy to have them back. And so she's like, "Oh." I think she does sort of whatever thing again, but I forget. But yeah, that's that's all I can really think of off the top of my head. Um, uh, yeah, that's all I got really. It's honestly a really good movie, like much better than I was expecting. I went in with, like, I didn't go in thinking it was shit. I went in thinking, well, this could be interesting. But thankfully, it ended up being more than just, oh, this could be interesting. It was like, this was pretty good. I mean, like, not mind blown, amazing, or anything like that, but it was worth seeing. So, uh, if when it comes out in your country, or hell, if where you are, wherever, is doing advanced screenings, still doing advanced screenings, well, I'll put it this way: if you're in Australia, whether you have kids or not, if you want to see this movie and you don't mind that I've basically spoiled the entire fucking thing for you, go see it this weekend. So, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because it's a long weekend here in Australia. Uh, there are advanced screening showings all weekend, 2D and 3D, because I saw it in 2D at 10 in the morning. uh, they actually apparently they thought it was going to start later than it did, so by the time I finally got my popcorn and drink, the ads were starting as I walked in, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, definitely worth seeing. I don't know if there was a post-credit scene or not because I didn't hang around for it. Initially I was going to, but kids' movies usually don't, and if they do, it's like a joke thing. So I was just like, if there is, and I find out about there being one later, Because I won't see, if I do see it again, it'll be when it officially, like when it properly comes out later this month. Um, so yeah, if you live in Australia and you live somewhere near a cinema, or you can get to a cinema quite easily, and you well, like, and you well, generally if you're a Cinebuzz member, because I'm pretty sure they're only for Cinebuzz members, or at least if you're a Cinebuzz member, it'll only cost you $10 to get in. It'll cost you more than that if you want friggin' popcorn and drinks and blah 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 blah. Like for example, it cost me over $20 to get in because I ordered the ticket online and then got a large popcorn and drink. Uh, if you're in America, if they're still doing advanced screenings or whatever, I would honestly say give it a shot, especially if you have kids, because they'll enjoy it. You won't hate it, honestly. Like, if you're an adult, so like, if you're my age or much older and have kids, honestly, I'd say it is worth a watch at least once in the cinemas. Especially for the scope of those damn alpha dragons. Like, holy shit. They're like seeing it on DVD or something would not do it justice. Um, or like generally those creatures, it would not do them justice. Uh, oh, one last thing. Yeah, but like, if you aren't able to see an advanced screening, go see it when it comes out. In Australia, I'd wait for a cheap Tuesday if you don't work. If your working hours make it so you can still see it on a cheap Tuesday. Otherwise, wherever you live, I'd say give it a shot. When it actually officially comes out, because apparently it doesn't come out until June 13th in America, and I was like, wow, really? I saw it before the official release date for America. That's weird. Um, so yeah, that's about all I can think of. Aside from the fucking stupidest thing ever, which has nothing to necessarily do with the movie itself, but the opening DreamWorks thing, where they do this stupid thing where the fucking, how there's like the kid and the logo that's fishing off the moon. They fling the fucking thing right in your face, like for a 3D thing, and it's like, really? Really? That was fucking dumb. But aside from that, the movie itself was good. So I would say give it a shot. If you have had any interest in seeing it, when it comes out somewhere where you can see it, see it. I would, if you're not keen to see it in cinemas, I'd say wait until it comes out and give it a rent. Somehow, like if wait long enough and it comes out on Netflix, maybe, I don't know. If you're if you're in a country where you can actually get Netflix. But yeah, that's about all I can really think of to say. Hope you enjoyed this review of it. I hope to do more of these in the future about movies that I've seen as they come out. Uh, but as far as movies that I've seen already, I would do, but I'll only do group ones of ones that I've already seen by this point. Or I'll do a written article. So that's all from me. Uh, so I will see you people next time with whatever the hell I go on about next time. See yous.